Welcome to Health 2660. Here we don't just talk about health, we tell the stories that heal. Now please listen to the story. I never thought a vegetable could change my life. It sounds absurd, doesn't it? A cliche even, like some daytime talk show testimonial. But trust me, at 72 I'd come to accept certain things. Waking up tired, the pills lined up neatly next to my toothbrush, like tiny soldiers waiting for deployment. The bloating after meals that made my stomach feel like a balloon about to burst. The creaky knees that complained with the dramatic flair of a Shakespearean actor every time I dared to climb the porch steps. That was just aging, right? At least that's what I told myself morning after morning as I stared back at the weary face in the mirror. But deep down, buried beneath layers of resignation and lukewarm tea, I knew something wasn't right. I didn't feel alive. I was just existing, like a potted plant on a dusty shelf, watered just enough to keep from completely shriveling. One afternoon, my old friend George, bless his heart, came over. He brought his usual good humor, that booming laugh that could shake the rafters, and stories that always started with, "Remember that time?" And something else, a small, nondescript container filled with roasted orange cubes. "Try this," he said, popping one into his mouth with a satisfied "mmph." "What is it?" I asked, eyeing the unfamiliar offering with suspicion. I wasn't one for trying new things, especially not at my age. Routine was my comfort blanket. "Sweet potato." He grinned, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "My doctor says I'm reversing time with these." I laughed a short, disbelieving bark. "You mean you finally found the fountain of youth in root form?" He shrugged, that nonchalant gesture I'd known for over 50 years. "All I know is I sleep better, my joints ache less, and I haven't had indigestion in months. And my doctor seems pretty darn happy." I rolled my eyes, but a flicker of curiosity ignited within me. George wasn't one for exaggeration. He was a practical man, a retired carpenter who trusted facts and figures more than fancy claims. "It's just a potato," I said, trying to dismiss the growing intrigue. But something about the ease in his voice, the lack of grimace when he moved, the clarity in his eyes that had seemed a bit clouded lately, it stuck with me. It was like a little seed of hope had been planted in the dry soil of my routine. The next week, driven by a nagging feeling I couldn't quite shake, I bought a few sweet potatoes at the local market. They sat in my crisper drawer for a couple of days, like orange question marks, staring back at me every time I opened the refrigerator. Finally, I decided to take the plunge. I roasted them simply. Olive oil, a pinch of salt, a dash of paprika. The aroma filled my kitchen, a warm, earthy scent that was surprisingly appealing. They were good. Not just okay, but genuinely good. Sweet, warm, comforting, like a hug from the inside. I started having them with dinner, then sometimes at lunch, alongside a simple salad. A few weeks in, I noticed something. I wasn't reaching for the antacids after meals anymore. The familiar burn in my chest, the bloated feeling that had become my nightly companion, was gone, or at least significantly diminished. Then something even more curious happened. I was walking up the porch steps, those dreaded porch steps, and I didn't groan. I actually forgot to groan. It wasn't a conscious decision, just a moment of quiet, unburdened movement. I stopped halfway up my hand on the railing and listened. Nothing. No creaks, no aches, no dramatic sighs escaping my lips. Just the gentle breeze rustling through the leaves of the old oak tree in my front yard. The changes came slowly, subtly, like morning fog, lifting one layer at a time, revealing a landscape I hadn't seen in years. My skin looked less sallow, less papery thin. My energy didn't dip at 2 p.m., like clockwork forcing me to retreat to the couch for a nap. I didn't crave junk food, those sugary, salty snacks that had been my guilty pleasure, as much. The scale crept down, just a few pounds a pound. Here, a pound there, but enough to feel my waistband loosen to notice that my clothes fit a little better. One morning, I looked in the mirror, really looked, not just a quick glance, and saw a softness return to my face, a hint of color I hadn't seen in years. My eyes weren't so dull, so clouded with weariness. Could it really be? The sweet potatoes? Could something so simple, so unassuming, be responsible for these subtle but significant shifts? I felt a little foolish, like I'd stumbled upon a magical cure-all that everyone else already knew about. But then again, maybe that was the point. Maybe the magic wasn't in the sweet potato itself, but in the simple act of paying attention, of listening to my body, of choosing something nourishing over something convenient. Turns out, they're not just comfort food. They're a powerhouse, packed with beta-carotene, which my body eagerly turns into vitamin A. Good for my immune system, my eyes, my skin. All those things that seemed to be slowly fading were getting a little boost. Rich in fiber that feeds my gut, keeps things moving, naturally. And the B vitamins. They help my mind stay sharp. Something I've clung to like an anchor as the years have passed. And yes, I Googled it. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I had to see if there was any actual science behind this seemingly miraculous transformation. And there was. Reams of it. These orange and purple roots are filled with antioxidants that fight inflammation, stabilize blood sugar, even support brain health. No wonder George was glowing. He wasn't just eating a vegetable. He was fueling his body with a potent cocktail of nutrients. He was investing in his health one delicious bite at a time. At my next checkup, my doctor, a young woman with a perpetually furrowed brow, raised her eyebrows in surprise. Your blood pressure's down, and your glucose levels are better than last year. She leaned back in her chair, her expression thoughtful. What changed? I smiled, feeling a sense of quiet triumph. I swapped white bread for something orange. She looked puzzled for a moment, then a slow smile spread across her face. Sweet potatoes, she asked, already knowing the answer. Good choice. My daily routine shifted subtly at first, then with increasing enthusiasm. It wasn't a radical overhaul, but a gentle recalibration. Morning. I'd steam a few slices of sweet potato and mash them with cinnamon and a drizzle of honey. Sometimes I'd add a banana and a splash of almond milk. Blend it into a creamy, satisfying smoothie. A far cry from the dry toast and weak coffee that had been my usual breakfast. Lunch. Sweet potato salad with black beans avocado and a handful of peppery arugula. A vibrant, flavorful meal that kept me full and energized throughout the afternoon. Dinner. Roasted sweet potato wedges on the side, crispy and golden brown with a sprinkle of garlic and herbs. A simple but satisfying addition to any meal. And on weekends, I'd make fries in the air fryer with a little Greek yogurt dip seasoned with dill and lemon. A guilt-free indulgence that satisfied my cravings without derailing my progress. The variety kept it exciting. The different textures, the subtle nuances in flavor kept me coming back for more. I experimented with different seasonings, different cooking methods. I discovered the joys of sweet potato gnocchi, sweet potato shepherd's pie, even sweet potato brownies, which surprisingly were delicious. What surprised me most wasn't the physical changes, although those were certainly welcome. It was how I felt inside, clearer, calmer, happier, more present. The fog that had settled over my mind, the weariness that had weighed down my spirit, began to dissipate. I started to notice the small things again. The way the sunlight streamed through the kitchen window in the morning, the sound of birdsong in the garden, the laughter of children playing in the park across the street. It's strange to say this, but I began to feel hope again. Not the youthful kind that chases grand dreams and ambitions, but the steady, quiet kind that simmers beneath the surface. The kind that wakes up in the morning and says, "Today will be a good day." The kind that looks forward to watering the garden, calling my daughter going for a walk. Not because I have to, but because I can. Sweet potatoes did that for me. They didn't cure me of aging, of course. I still have wrinkles, and my knees still creak on occasion. But they gave me something more valuable. They gave me back my vitality. They reminded me that even at 72, I'm still capable of change, still capable of growth, still capable of joy. I once believed that aging was a downhill ride. You couldn't stop a relentless slide towards oblivion. But now I see it differently. Now I see it as a road, and what you choose to put in your body, it's the fuel. Some fuel weighs you down, slows you, fogs the windows of your mind. It's the processed foods, the sugary drinks, the empty calories that offer fleeting pleasure but leave you feeling depleted and drained. But some fuel lifts you, nourishes you, clears the path ahead. It's the whole foods, the vibrant fruits and vegetables, the lean proteins that provide sustained energy and support your body's natural healing processes. I don't think food is magic. I don't believe that eating one particular vegetable will suddenly transform your life. But I do believe in the power of small, consistent choices. One root at a time. One conscious decision to nourish your body and mind. So, if you're listening to this and you've been feeling tired, dull, a little too familiar with the pill box on your nightstand, I encourage you to try it. Start small. Start orange. Add a sweet potato to your next meal. Roast it, mash it, bake it into a pie. See what happens. It may just surprise you, like it did me. Thank you for being here with me, for listening to my story. This is Henry, 72, and still learning, still growing, and still enjoying sweet potatoes every day. What about you? How do you like yours? Do you prefer them? Sweet or savory? Do you have a favorite recipe you'd be willing to share? I'm always looking for new ways to incorporate these little orange powerhouses into my diet. Perhaps we could even start a sweet potato revolution, a community of people sharing recipes, tips, and experiences, a movement dedicated to reclaiming our health one delicious bite at a time. I envision a website, maybe a little online forum. We could even call it Sweet Potato Power. But before I get ahead of myself, there's something else I need to confess. Something I haven't told you yet. While the sweet potatoes undoubtedly played a major role in my transformation, there was another element involved. Something perhaps even more unexpected than discovering the healing power of a vegetable. It involves George, a misplaced library book, and a rather eccentric yoga instructor named Brenda. And it all started with a very persistent cough. Health 2660. Thanks you for listening. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, be kind to yourself.